Welcome to Charter California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Mike Morrell, he's a member of the California State Assembly. He is home on recess, and I want to speak with you, sir, about this last, is it called a session when you're in the middle of 1 year? Is that the session?
That's exactly what it's called.
Okay, so how did this session go?
Well, you know, there was some wins and there were some losses.
Right.
The good news is for business owners, with the Chamber's help, we killed about 37 job killer bills. But some of the things that were challenging for me, we live in a challenging state. Our economy still has the highest unemployment rate.
Right.
Unfunded liabilities, meaning pensions and retirements, are pushing $500 billion. Reports say that they need to earn an average of about 12% return for the next 14 years to be fully funded. It's probably not going to happen.
But let me ask you about that, sir, because it seemed as if a couple of years ago there was some momentum behind bona fide pension reform.
Yeah.
And what happened was there was some tinkering on the margins, but we didn't see that bona fide
Well, what they
pension
did,
reform.
the pension reform that they did get is for people going forward.
Right.
But solving the problem of the unfunded liability today is still huge. That's why you see cities like Stockton and San Bernardino going bankrupt. So with these problems, you know, we have more than just economic challenges. We have challenges in education. We're not turning out our students in the STEM programs, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. We've dropped to 44th in America and 46th overall.
Although, are you feeling more bullish given that we will see more money flowing to K-12, given the passage of Prop 30, given the economy's improving?
Well, you'd hope so.
Okay.
You know, remember the lottery was supposed to improve education too.
I understand.
So I'm sort of cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
But here, I guess here's the point I'm trying to say.
Please,
I think this would be interesting for your audience. In spite of these huge challenges we have to our state, losing jobs to Texas and those types of things, and with education, my friends on the other side of the aisle sponsored a bill as one of their headline bills for the year, is AB 1266, where they allow our children as young as elementary school to be able to use the same locker and shower facilities together.
Right. As I understand it, what the bill says is that a child can select their chosen gender, and as a result, if they choose the opposite gender from which they were born, they can play on those sports teams, they can use those locker facilities. I wanted to ask you, sir, if that bill was a solution seeking a problem. Because, I mean, I'm not aware that there is a significant issue with kids that may have gender disorder demanding or seeking to be on the other team.
One of the things I wanted to bring it up, and as I spoke to you earlier, I think it was one of the main responses that we got at our assembly office, where parents, you know, moms are afraid, dads are afraid, not because of the gender thing. It's just, you know, teenage boys wanting to be teenage boys, so they're worried about their daughter's privacy. It's inappropriate, and people are appalled that this is going on in education when we have such failing test scores.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, how did a bill like this percolate to the surface? It just seems odd to me. This is not even a gay rights bill, which, and I know gay rights is on the minds of a lot of Americans. Do you know?
No, you know, you have to wonder if maybe people have their mindset is you know, this is very inappropriate. It doesn't belong anywhere, but especially not in education. We need to be teaching our kids. But I'm amazed. It was a bill, just, you know, to make a distinction. Democrats, it was sponsored and passed by them, and I'm surprised our governor signed it.
And I must say, and I'm a neutral journalist, I was surprised as well. And the reason I was surprised is if you look at a lot of the bills he signed and vetoed. For example, there was a bill that was proposed that would allow non-citizens to serve on juries. He vetoed that bill.
He vetoed that bill.
And so it seemed as if this was the type of bill that, you know, was a little bit off the beaten path, you know, and yet he did move forward and sign it. I understand that some of your colleagues, I believe Shannon Grove may be one of them, who's an assemblywoman, is looking to bring an initiative to have this bill reversed, I guess you could say. What's your sense? I mean, what do you think your constituents would think?
Well, I tell you, we received about 115 letters,
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, I understand for every one communication,
there's probably 100 more that feel the same way.
Exactly.
And about 4 people were for this bill, but the other ones were adamantly opposed, and they were mad. And the reason why it hit me is a number of those people assume maybe I did it because they say, what are you guys doing and why are you passing stuff like this in the legislature? So I made sure all those letters were answered, that it was not the Republicans, it was the Democrats. And you know, I think it speaks about the character of Governor Brown at the end of the day.
Although, wouldn't you say, you know, and I just want to push you a little bit on this. When it comes to the business side of the equation, it feels as if, and I'm just kind of looking at what the chambers of commerce say and what some of the pro-business groups say, that they've been generally pleased with the relative direction of Governor Brown. Is that fair?
You know, it's fair, but not when we continue to drop in rankings. You know, I'm on the streets. I'm in the trenches.
Literally.
Literally.
You talk to constituents.
Yeah, I'm regularly speaking to our business community, manufacturers especially. I can think of one in particular. They have about 1,200 employees. And they have, they want to recruit within California or America because they're patriotic, but they're having difficulty finding people in those STEM programs. And so they're having to go outside of America to recruit.
And I do want to talk, though, about the kind of sense of business friendliness. I recently, I pulled out my notebook because CNBC does this yearly ranking of top states with which to do business. And California, you know, it's heartbreaking, comes in at 47th. And the cost of doing business in California, 50 out of 50. That's a mantra that we've heard for quite some time, that there are real challenges. And the irony to that, if I may say, sir, is that with regard to access to capital, California comes in first.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, but they're investing their money out of state, a lot of business owners. It's why Governor Rick Perry has an office in California.
Which is so maddening.
You know, it really is.
So maddening.
But I had the fortunate to be able to talk to him about a week ago, and he said he loves coming here to hunt.
I bet he does.
And when he says coming here to hunt, he means for businesses. But you know, I just read a book, How Money is Walking to Texas out of California, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and Washington.
He has said that he wants regulatory reform.
You know, saying it and doing it, he has the power to veto, but he has also signed a tremendous amount of regulatory bill.
What about CEQA? Because that is one area where he keeps talking about reform. We've got some reform.
You know, forgive me, but this is a fact, and this has been all talk, and we have worked hard, us as the Republicans. We fought at the end of the session. We were willing to give away our firstborn child in some ways.
And is it your firstborn clerking for the Supreme Court?
He just flew into town last night. He got married.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah, and he's taking another job in Houston starting December 3rd. But anyway, so we offered up as many things as we could to improve, to reform CEQA by maybe between 10 and 12%. We had cut a deal. We had a gentleman's agreement, and we got the rug.
So what about for next session, you know, the coming 2014?
You know what, we got beat up pretty bad at it. We said, we'll vote on this bill if you guys give us this. So in good faith we did, and when it came that other bill, they yanked it right out from underneath us.
We're about to speak with Wendy McCammack, who is a councilwoman in San Bernardino, candidate for mayor. You represent significant portions of San Bernardino.
68%.
Yeah, you talk to your friends in San Bernardino. How's it going?
San Bernardino, first of all, one thing that I didn't know before, because I just inherited San Bernardino through redistricting, I love the people in San Bernardino, and I'll tell you why. They care about their city.
They do.
We've been having town halls. I mean, 3 to 4 times as many people show up in San Bernardino than they do other towns.
How interesting.
And they want to know, Mike, you know, many of them were born and raised there or lived there 30 years, and they said, this is not the city it once was. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And so I've been being pulled into that city, and at first I was a little bit hesitant with all the problems going on, but they're just looking for people.
I can imagine.
They're looking for honest people to return San Bernardino.
His name is Mike Morrell, member of the California State Assembly. Like I said, when we come back, we'll be speaking with Wendy McCammack. She is an elected official there. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Charter California Edition. Welcome back. It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Wendy McCammack, councilwoman in San Bernardino, leading candidate for mayor of that city. We just spoke with Mike Morrell, an assembly member who represents significant portions of the city of San Bernardino, and he told me that your business, called Express Printing Signs and Tees, he awarded you a Top Small Business Award.
It was a great honor.
I can imagine.
It was a great honor. And several of the cities in his district had some similar awards, so it was great to see all the small business people, which pretty much make the employers.
No doubt. I need to list a few names for you.
Okay.
Jerry Eves, Valerie Pope Ludlam, Ed Negretti, Bill Postmus, Paul Bion, Neil Deary, Chaz Kelly, and Robert Jenkins. All those folks are elected officials in either the city or the county of San Bernardino. They all have either been indicted and or convicted of criminal offenses. And in fact, Chaz Kelly recently pled guilty to a criminal offense, and Robert Jenkins, in this headline from the LA Times, is under indictment for a criminal offense. Ma'am, you are not at all implicated in any wrongdoing, but what is going on in San Bernardino? It's got to be devastating.
In terms of the county officials, I think money is the means to the end, so to speak. In terms of city council members, I can tell you that some of those names that you've mentioned, based on the way the charter reads in terms of council members, they earn $50 a month.
Right, which is hugely problematic in my mind. I try to be neutral.
And I do too.
Right, and I will say that, San Bernardino, 200,000 people, major city in our state, currently bankrupt. I mean, you get what you pay for. And
in a way, I believe that's true, but it also comes to character, in my mind. If you go into public office with ethics and a morality that allows you to put your head on the pillow at night, you're going to carry that through, unless there are things that are just too tempting.
But look what happened with Chaz Kelly, for example. As we understand it, he worked for Neil Deary. Neil Deary, a supervisor in San Bernardino County, wound up pleading guilty to a felony dealing with campaign violations. Neil Deary wound up losing his seat. Chaz Kelly worked for Neil Deary. When Neil Deary leaves office, Chaz Kelly has no job. And what happens? He winds up using campaign funds to live.
Except, according to the indictment, he's been doing that since 2008.
When Neil Deary was still in office.
And I don't know their personal finances. All I know is that when campaign contributors give you money, you spend it on the campaign.
But here's what's so frustrating. We are in Riverside today.
Yes.
Riverside is 20 minutes away from San Bernardino.
Yes.
And yet, the culture in Riverside is not this kind of corrupt Wild West.
Yes.
But in San Bernardino, and I know you're trying to clean it up. I don't want to tar you with what's happening there.
And I appreciate that.
But it's just, it's mind-boggling. I mean, this is San Bernardino. It was an all-American city in 1977. I'm not even from San Bernardino. My eyes well up talking about it because it's your city.
It is my
city.
And really, I think what has happened over the years is the taxpayers have just been forgotten or sacrificed. And I have never, ever cast a vote that it was not on behalf of the taxpayer or in support of the taxpayers. As an example, the recall, in my opinion, is all about the deal, the means to the end.
What Ms. McCammack is referencing is, while you're running for mayor and you are a leading candidate, there's a recall campaign going against you and 2 other council members. I mean, it's just, it's bizarre. And in the background is the bankruptcy, which begs the question, why would you ever want to be mayor? But I won't go there.
Well, to keep on course, first of all, what people forget is everything that people own in this city or have invested in this city, my husband and I are the same. So whatever happens good to everybody happens good to us. Whatever happens bad to everybody happens bad to us. So we have as much a vested interest and a stake in this.
I know, I know recently I spoke with Bob Dutton, former state senator running for assessor for the county. He, as I understand, was instrumental in brokering a deal between the internet retailers, specifically Amazon, and the state to allow them to charge state sales tax. But as part of the deal, there's now an Amazon distribution center in San Bernardino. That's got to be a bright light.
It's a very bright light. As a matter of fact, since I was elected in 2000, the city has added 8,000 new jobs.
Okay.
There are approximately 6,000 to 8,000 new jobs, additional new jobs in the hopper. Thanks to Hillwood Development, the Pro companies, thanks to the efforts at the air base, not in terms of passenger carriers,
yes, no, we know that,
but in terms of warehouse and cargo carrying type of functions. Those kinds of things bring tax base. They bring property tax base. They get it out of the hands of the government, who pays no property taxes. You get it into private hands.
That's interesting,
Those things are good for the city. More of that has to occur, but we can't be tainted with this kind of activity, with these kinds of headlines. So
you have the bankruptcy, you have the criminal indictments.
Let's not forget about the fact that the mayor's name was on an FBI raid and search warrant at the airport. No, he hasn't been charged or indicted, but I don't. I mean, if I had an FBI search warrant come to my business, I'd be very worried.
You know what was so remarkable to me, and I don't mind saying this, on camera. I recently was honored with moderating a debate in which you were a candidate. There were at that point 11 candidates. 10 showed up. One of the candidates is no longer on the ballot because she didn't pay her filing fee. She's a write-in candidate now.
Bounced a check,
Right, she bounced a check. Mr. Kelly was present.
Yes.
And he had already been working with the FBI.
Wearing a wire.
Wearing a wire. So he's in this debate, participating, knowing that it was highly unlikely he would ever be able to become mayor because he was working with the FBI. I mean, it's like you can't write this material. I mean, literally, you cannot write this material.
We need to write a book.
Yeah, we need to.
You and I both need to write a book.
And I remember you were here last month, and I kind of commented, Mr. Kelly isn't joining us for an interview. I wonder why.
And I had no clue.
And now we know why. I mean, it's okay. So, how's it going? How's the bankruptcy going? What's going on? Give us an update.
The good thing about the bankruptcy is that the judge found us eligible.
Right, which is important.
It's very important.
Right.
And now we need to reconstruct and then reorganize and restructure the debt. Every municipality has debt. Every single one. Nobody pays cash for everything.
No, we know that.
Not even private people pay cash for everything for the most part. So restructuring that debt will, I think, be instrumental in helping us get back on our feet. We have wonderful cash flow at this point.
Do you?
We do.
Why?
Because we've cut so much.
Oh, I see.
But we've cut mostly in public safety.
Which is hard.
It's horrific.
And you, I remember at the debate you mentioned to me that your business, I believe, did you say your business had been a victim of crime?
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times. And I just got off the phone on the way here with a gentleman who was trying to build a building in San Bernardino and wants to build another one, but tells me of all the horrific stories that he deals with building a new building. That has to stop.
Is this because of kind of business-friendly,
A,
or the lack of business-friendly? Yeah.
And B, what he calls a ghetto behind his new building that he built in terms of multifamily units. And he's right. I plan on fixing that as well.
Yeah, right. So why are you so committed to becoming the mayor? I mean, look, it'd be very easy to say, I'm done. I won a small business award. My business is going well. Why?
Well, if you run for office for the right reason in the first place, you're not done until it's fixed.
Right.
Unless it's perfect when you walk in the door. Right. But it's not perfect, and it wasn't perfect. And there are things to fix. And I look at the alternatives as to who might fill that seat, and I just don't see them as qualified or as committed.
So tell me, you're walking precincts, you're talking to voters. What are they saying?
They're mixed in terms of, you must be part of the problem.
Right, you face a challenge.
You must be part of the problem. And then when I explained that I was a no vote on many critical issues, the lone no vote in many cases, they go, oh. And as an example, I've had people tell me, if the mayor had listened to Wendy in the first place, maybe you wouldn't be in bankruptcy. I don't know that that's necessarily so, but
okay.
That's the way.
Please come back. Her name is Wendy McCammack. She is a councilwoman in San Bernardino, a leading candidate for mayor of that fair city. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's Charter California Edition. Welcome back. It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Mike Soubirous, Riverside's newest council member, just elected to an unexpired term of Mayor Rusty Bailey. When he became mayor, he left. You are now the newest member. Congratulations. Great victory. You had to get through a primary and a general. How'd it go? How was it?
It was intense. It was a long time. It was a lot of walking, a lot of communicating with the voters, potential voters, and just old-fashioned hard work.
Well, let's talk about that, because you just told me that you hit every single door of every registered voter in that ward.
And those are the high-propensity voters, the ones that 85% chance that they're going to vote, and actually knocked on every door. Not everybody was home, but they all got a personal message and connected with them.
What were they saying to you?
They want to see Riverside, improve. They love their city, but they want to see some things worked on. The roads need repaving and curbs and gutters, and there's tree issues and tree trimming, and just the everyday things that people deal with. They want to see those things addressed. They want somebody to respond to what they see, is an issue for them at that particular time and take care of it.
And I know in your ward specifically, and this is really to any ward in the state of California, practically traffic is a significant issue.
Yes, it is. And Riverside's kind of unique because it's not laid out in a north-south kind of grid that a lot of cities are. It's kind of topography oriented, so to speak, where it follows some major routes, and we've got a lot of hills in town that it kind of works its way around. And what's happened over the years is we've not really provided really good east-west routes.
Interesting.
So it kind of is a little bit of a more intense issue trying to get around town. And there's ways to work on this traffic and mitigate it, but it's just going to take some good work to do it.
I want to ask you about you and your colleagues. There are 7 members on the Riverside City Council. You are now the 3rd retired police officer.
Yes.
And your opponent was a retired police officer.
Yes.
What is it about Riverside that successful law enforcement officers, after they move on, wind up joining city council? And your mayor was in the military. I mean, it's
well, and even Paul Davis had gone through police training, but elected to stay in the private sector field.
So what is it? What do you think?
Well, it might be just community involvement and just knowing the issues, going to different community meetings, hearing them as an officer for a specific department. You're hearing a lot of the complaints, or you're hearing, road issues and different things. And I think it just, it kind of becomes a natural fit, I think. It really does, because it's all about serving the people, and it's just to a different degree.
And let's talk about public safety, because it's a very interesting dynamic, what we see in terms of crime trends. We're coming out of a recession, and we would have thought that crime rates would spike during the recession. They did not.
Yes.
Was it because people were too depressed to get outside? Was it because technology's improved?
Yeah.
Now we're coming out of it, and some are afraid that will actually cause an uptick because people feel better.
Yes.
Or is it AB 109, the realignment, is that causing an uptick? So what did you hear on the streets about crime? Was it a significant issue?
Well, it's kind of interesting because when the economy did downslide, we noticed that crime went down as well, but then it started going up with AB 109, which, is kind of predictable because of what happened. But it just was a really big shock to me, I think, as a law enforcement officer, seeing that it went down during a tough economic time, because you would think that people would become more desperate. But like you say, maybe they just had less gas money to go out and do something. I don't know.
But was it, like, for example, in San Bernardino, we'll call it a sister city almost, they have significant crime issues. I mean, they have a whole host of problems, bankruptcy. In fact, we just spoke with Wendy McCammack, who is running for mayor of that fine city. And crime is a significant issue in San Bernardino. From what I can tell, it doesn't feel like that in Riverside. Am I right?
Yeah, to some degree, I think so. I think we have a little bit different economic base to tap from that kind of helps out. The inland region in general has, seen quite a downturn, and we were actually overall the lowest of the low in the United States.
Oh, yes, you were.
So I think in Riverside we were fortunate that, like you mentioned earlier, we did weather the storm quite well. But at the same time, I think maybe it's just a different way of doing business. It's, maybe some of the folks that are living in the region, where they work. I mean, when Norton went away, Norton Air Force Base, that really hit them very, very hard. That was right in the center of the city.
And let's talk about the economy. Like we said, Riverside fared pretty well during the recession, just because of the way the calendar fell. We had the Renaissance coming in through Riverside. The money had been allocated earlier, and so we were able to spend it through the recession. Housing seems to be bouncing back a bit, or is it?
I think it is. What you're seeing from what the real estate agents will tell you is that, we saw a bottoming out of a lot of the the repos, you know,
Right.
that happened. And then they said that right now expect that a lot of the inventory is low. So a lot of people that have been holding back and the demand is high, which is good for the market, for them, sellers. But the thing is they say that a lot of people that have been holding back, not wanting to sell because of the economy and waiting for their value of their house to go up, that a lot of them are going to kind of flood the market finally and sell, and that will increase the inventory. So they'll see a little bit of drop in prices, more activity, and then they said it should start climbing back again.
What's also interesting is the Inland Empire, for better or for worse, is seen as a pretty good deal. And so we see investors coming in, though.
Yes.
And I know some folks who are trying to buy homes in Riverside and surrounding communities, and they keep getting outbid by investors.
Yeah.
You know, that plan on flipping it or whatever it is. So that can cause its own set of pressures.
Yes.
I want to speak with you about your goals as you enter this office. It's interesting, as I mentioned, it's a 2-year term because it's unexpired. Yes. So you got to do well pretty quickly. You're going to be talking to the voters again in a matter of months, it seems. So what are your goals early on in your term?
Well, you know, I just want to connect with the city and plug in and get to know where all the players are at and who the go-to people are to get things done.
Right.
And then, you know, there's some things that I really want to work on, and that would be is connecting with the business community and finding out from them where the problems are, where the hurdles are for them. Because I want Riverside to be as absolutely as business friendly as it possibly can. Just like anybody from any city would want their city to be the best.
And it's interesting, you talk about players, and when you look at the sitting city council, 6 members, 5 of them endorsed your opponent.
Yes.
I'm sure you're still friends, of course, but that's an interesting issue. I mean, some could argue that you beat the odds. Your opponent outspent you. You had the establishment supporting your opponent. I mean, you had done well in the primary, came in first, so it wasn't that big of a surprise. But you know, how do you kind of now work around the fact that your colleagues were looking towards someone else to take that seat?
Well, you know, everything in the political world's kind of interesting. I find the dynamic kind of interesting. Is really that night and the next day I had congratulatory calls, and the offers were there to do whatever it takes to bring me into the fold, to get me to plug in and connect and you know, acclimate to the job. So, you know, it changes overnight. It really does. And I look forward to working with them all.
Of course. And what's also interesting is we have a new mayor, Rusty Bailey.
Yes.
Nancy Hart, longtime councilwoman. She came off on her own volition. Jim Perry joined.
Yes.
And now you're there. So there's some newbies. I mean,
Yes.
this is we're getting close to kind of a new breed, a changing of the guard, or are we?
I think that'll probably shake out over the next months to, you know, see where that really goes. You know, Jim hasn't been there that long,
Jim
I think,
Perry,
to you know, how do I say, show where he's going to be politically on everything. And I think the folks that are going to be watching me are going to, you know, wait and see how things, you know, shake out there as well.
I know one of your goals is openness and transparency.
Yes.
Is your feeling that the Riverside City Council had not been open and transparent? Were there some concerns there?
Well, you know, I think you should always check yourself to see how open and transparent you are. But the press enterprise has called upon the city to be more open on some issues and more transparent. And, you know, whether it's through oversight or, you know, other, I think it's incumbent upon any city to do its very best to be completely, you know, open to the public that it serves in every facet.
Let's have some fun for a moment. I want to hear about the exact moment in time when you saw, oh no, I'm going to win. You know, what was that like, that exact moment where you realized this is going to happen?
You know, I felt good for me, but I also felt good for the people, because I felt that I had a good message. I felt that, you know, I knew where I was going with things, and I thought, you know, we can actually move forward and we can accomplish something.
I remember
it was a good time.
When Eric Garcetti won his race for mayor of Los Angeles, I know his father, Gil, and it was for him I was most happy.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of who supported for the parent. And I got to think for your wife, whom I met recently, she has to just be so proud of Mike Soubirous.
Yeah, she really is.
And
it
was
2
daughters,
yes.
2 daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part, is the family gets to see.
And it was a lot of work, a lot of time invested, and it paid off.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
His name is Mike Soubirous. He is the newest member of the Riverside City Council. My name is Brad Pomerance. This is Charter California Edition.